A Houthi missile attack killed 2 children and injured 12 more people in North Taz. The militia bombed a residential area in Al Mufattish with heavy weapons on Monday. The Arab-led coalition said the Houthis fired a ballistic missile from Amran that landed in the Yemeni capital Sana'a. The Houthi militia has recently intensified the use of explosive and reconnaissance drones, which a UN committee of experts said earlier was assembled from external components and shipped to Yemen. A draft bill requiring Iran's government to pursue uranium enrichment of 20% and to disregard other restraints put on its nuclear program by an accord reached with foreign powers in 2015 cleared its first hurdle in Parliament Tuesday. The legislation was proposed in the wake of the assassination of a top nuclear scientist last Friday, and the hardline-dominated Parliament cleared the draft on the first reading in a session broadcast live on state radio. The bill still has to be approved in a second reading and endorsed by a clerical body before it becomes law. A senior Iranian official said Monday an opposition group was suspected of involvement with Israel in the killing of nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, an attack that has raised the prospect of heightened tensions between Tehran and its longtime enemy. Azerbaijan said Tuesday its forces had entered the Lachen district, the last of 3 handed back by Armenia, as part of a deal that ended weeks of fighting over Nagorno-Karabakh. The Defense Ministry in Baku said in a statement that units of the Azerbaijan army entered the Lachen region on December the 1st under the deal signed in early November by Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia. Armenia agreed to hand over 3 districts around Karabakh as part of the deal that stopped an Azerbaijani offensive that had reclaimed swathes of territory lost to Armenia separatists in 1990s war. Petrol bombs were heard at a Hong Kong police recreation club in the early hours of Tuesday, a rare attack on a police facility since Beijing imposed a sweeping national security law. Police said they received a report of 3 men dressed in black hurling Molotov cocktails into the car park of the police sports and recreation club in Mong Kok, a district that saw many clashes during last year's huge democracy protests. An 18-year-old man was later arrested a short walk away from the club carrying pepper spray, police said, although it was not clear if he was a suspect. A spokesman for the Interior Ministry said police raided homes in 3 German states early Tuesday after the German government banned a far-right group. The German news agency reported the homes of 13 members of the far-right group Wolf Brigade 44 were searched to confiscate the group's funds and far-right propaganda material. Interior Minister said those that fight against the basic values of a free society will get to feel the resolute reaction of the government. The coronavirus pandemic is pushing the number of people worldwide who need humanitarian assistance to survive the new highs, the United Nations said on Tuesday, dramatically increasing the ranks of extreme poverty in just 1 year. The UN reported in its Global Humanitarian Overview 2021, 1 in 33 people will need aid to meet basic needs like food, water, and sanitation in 2021, an increase of 40% from this year. It said that is 235 million people worldwide, with concentrations in Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Ethiopia. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden will formally introduce his top economic policy advisors on Tuesday as his administration prepares to take power amid a slowing economic recovery hampered by a resurgent coronavirus pandemic. President-elect Biden will appear at an event in his hometown of Wilmington, Delaware, alongside his selections of senior roles, including his nominee for U.S. Treasury Secretary, former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen. The team's makeup reinforces the president-elect's view that a more aggressive approach to the pandemic is required. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence told governors on Tuesday that distribution of a coronavirus vaccine could begin by the 3rd week of December, signaling that U.S. regulators will swiftly approve an emergency authorization for the first shots. Vice President Pence told governors they will have the final say on vaccine distribution as the ultimate arbiters in their states. Moderna Incorporation joined Pfizer Incorporation on Monday in requesting the FDA issue an emergency use authorization for its shot. Both vaccines are better than 90% effective, according to preliminary results of clinical trials, though their distribution challenges include requiring 2 shots. Indonesian authorities are closely monitoring several volcanoes after sensors picked up increased activity in recent weeks, prompting the evacuation of thousands of people. The National Disaster Mitigation Agency spokesman said hot ash tumbled as far as 3,000 meters down the slopes of Mount Semu early on Tuesday, triggering panic among villagers. Falling ash and sulfur blanketed several villages around its slopes. The 3,676-meter mountain in Lamajana district is the highest volcano in Indonesia's most densely island of Java. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries increased oil output for the 5th straight month in November ahead of the next OPEC Plus meeting. OPEC raised oil output by 750,000 barrels per day to $25.31 million in November. Thus, the oil output continued rising from its 30-year low hit in June. OPEC had 102% compliance with the agreement to cut oil supply in November. OPEC Plus members will meet on Tuesday to discuss the possibility of cutting oil output to 2 million barrels per day as of January. Asian markets rose Tuesday as investors resumed their vaccine-fueled buying spree, though gains were kept in check by the specter of surging virus infections. Equities fell across the board Monday after November's blockbuster rally. The Dow in New York enjoyed its best month in almost 34 years. That came in response to better-than-expected results from several coronavirus drugs and hopes they will begin to be rolled out before the end of the year. Officials said the prospect that millions of people will start getting a job within weeks will allow traders to bet on a strong recovery in the world economy next year. India's government invited protesting farmers for talks Tuesday, seeking to allay concerns about new laws growers fear could pave the way for the government to stop buying grain at guaranteed prices, leaving them at the mercy of private buyers. In a letter addressed to 32 farmers' unions, Sanjay Agarwal, the most senior civil servant at the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare, urged farmers to come forward for talks with government ministers and officials. The Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare Minister said the government had earlier invited farmers to talks last Thursday, but agreed to meet Tuesday due to cold weather and the coronavirus pandemic. The German Football Federation announced Tuesday Joachim Löw will remain in charge of Germany for next year's delayed European Championship, despite a series of poor recent results. Löw, who is 60 years old, has been in charge of the Germany team since taking over from Jürgen Klinsmann following the 2006 World Cup and led the nation to a fourth world title and first since reunification in Brazil in 2014. However, Germany are in crisis following a 6-0 defeat to Spain on November 17th and recent draws with Switzerland twice and Turkey. The team announced on Tuesday, despite earlier plans to the contrary, the Oklahoma City Thunder will not have fans in attendance for their home games when the National Basketball Association season begins. The decision came about 3 weeks after the team announced they expected to have protocols in place to allow for reduced seating capacity at Chesapeake Energy Center, which normally can hold just over 18,000. NBA players began daily COVID-19 tests over the weekend under health and safety procedures outlined by the League of Lacrosse.